There was disappointment at the start of the night. Obviously, we had the late pull-out, the late cancellation of Aqib Fiaz and Kane Baker's rematch. If you could just provide an update for the fans about what happened there.
Yeah, look, I think, probably being honest is the best policy in these kind of situations. I was made aware of some irregular betting activity around that fight. I was given information. I followed it up myself with my team, with the Gambling Commission as well, with the British Boxing Board of Control. And having spoken to a number of people, I decided to pull the fight, pending a further investigation. I'll hand that over now to the Gambling Commission and the British Boxing Board of Control, but the information that I was provided with, I wasn't happy with. And we had to make a very difficult decision very close to the fight, but it's something we take very seriously. In 15 years of promoting boxing, I've not experienced that situation, let alone on the day of the fight, but at any moment of any fight. So we had to think on our feet, we acted quickly, and that was the decision that was made.
Bitterly disappointing end there for Felix Cash, but I guess the tide did seem to be turning for Tyler Denny. What was your reaction to that ringside?
Yeah, I think that, as expected, 18 months out of the ring was going to be difficult to come back to. I thought Felix looked very rusty early in the fight. His feet weren't their normal selves. He lacked a little bit of sharpness with a jab. And I thought as the fight sort of unfolded a little bit, although Denny was on top in the fight, Felix was having a little bit more success and his movement was actually improving. He copped a big right hand at the end of the round before, and I think at that stage in the fight, Tyler Denny was a big favourite because you know that he's lived a life, you know that he's super fit, you know that his engine's going to have no problem. And Felix started to look a bit ruffled. Obviously the cut was bad, that was affecting him. So yeah, I think at the time of the stoppage, it was 100% the correct decision. And I think at the time of the stoppage, even if the fight would have gone on, Tyler Denny was a big favourite in the fight. You saw the difference between the inactivity and living the life, and one guy that was just absolutely desperate to win, and one guy that might have been a little bit lost in there himself. But who knows what would have happened if the cut didn't occur, but it did, and Tyler Denny was the deserved winner.
Where does Felix go from here? Because I think in the build-up, it was after 18 months of inactivity, he literally couldn't afford a defeat if he wanted to go on to the world level, which has been spoken about before. But where does he go from here?
I think this is a sport where every day you got to live the life. If you cut corners in any profession, but particularly in boxing, in a sport as hard as this, you're going to get found out. And it doesn't matter whether all of a sudden, see you, mate. It doesn't matter if all of a sudden you turn it round. You never get that period of time back where you didn't live the life, and at some point it's going to catch up with you. And whether tonight was inactivity and rustiness or whether it was that catching up with him, we don't really know. But sometimes you've got to sit yourself down in a dark room and ask yourself what you want to do in life, if you really are about that life. And this isn't a game that you play, this isn't a sport that you play. It's a game that you've got to be 100% fully committed to in every single ounce of your soul. And if you're not, it's time to pack it up and go. Because you start fighting in this sport just for money, you're going to get hurt. And, if he doesn't have the freshness, if he doesn't have the desire, and, only him, Adam Booth, all those people, you never really know what's gone on in the gym, how good the camp's been, how good the spars have been, how hard you've really pushed yourself. But you do know that people like Tyler Denny and people like Conah Walker as well, they will be there doing the extra runs. They will be there doing the extra rounds of sparring, the extra groundwork, and they're going to test your resolve every single time. So, I think only Felix can answer those questions. We don't know if it was inactivity or, as I said, the lifestyle, whatever it was. But, there were times where his body language didn't look brilliant in there tonight. But, it's a tough old game.
Is that something you think Felix will know tonight, tomorrow? Is it days and weeks when it really settles in? When does a fighter know?
It's just a case of being honest with yourself. He probably knew it before tonight. He would have known when he woke up every morning. He would have known when he was in the gym sparring. He would have known when he was doing his road work. But sometimes you just hope you can find a way. You hope that natural ability can take you there. But in fights and against certain styles, natural ability is not enough. And that's why you go back to people like Conah Walker, and they're not the most gifted fighters in the world. But if you ain't up for it, if you've cut corners, you will get found out in there. And like I said, some people carry on for years without the fire in their heart or without knowing they're the same fighter. And some say, no, it's time for me. And, that's a question for Felix Cash.
You touched on Conor Walker there. One fight that did live up to the billing was the chief support. Lewis Crocker got the decision. First of all, do you think that was the right decision? Because it was split at ringside.
Do you know what? It was very strange. Like, on our row, most people had it a draw or Lewis Crocker shading it. When I got in the ring, I looked at the DAZN commentary and all the media. They all had Conor Walker winning. I think that it's a fight that really is a round or 2 rounds max either way. You know, I think the heavier artillery came from Lewis Crocker, but the work rate of Conor Walker was incredible. And you know, he definitely was ahead in the first 6 of the fight. I felt like Lewis came back. The point deduction was massive as well. But I just thought it was a brilliant, brilliant fight. I mean, you know, I said to Conor Walker after, like, he came over to me and he said, you know, it was just thank you so much for everything. It was always a dream of mine to fight on a Matchroom show. Like, as if to say, I suppose that's my lot now. And I don't, listen, I'll say it on camera, because I looked him in the eye and I said, you have my absolute word, you will be back. I love fighters like Conor Walker. You know, they give every ounce of their soul. They're exciting. You know, they're full of spunk. You know what I mean? And they're like, that's exactly what it's all about. He gave us one of the fights of the year tonight. So he will be back for Lewis Crocker. Listen, it might be the rematch. Who knows? But for Lewis Crocker, congratulations. He comes through still undefeated. Of course, the fight with Paddy Donovan is signed if we want to do that fight. So massive nights ahead for him. And, you know, those two will respect each other forever. You know, it's a hell of a war.
They actually shared a beer afterwards in their dressing room.
Listen, they should share more than a beer. I mean, that eye of Conor Walker's going to not look pretty tomorrow, but fair play to him.
Is that the message you think all fighters should know? Is that even if you're not signed with Matchroom, if you come on these shows and you give it your all and you put on the performance that the fans love to see, there's always room to come again?
Every fighter, every career is different. You know, for some fighters, a defeat is actually damaging. If they've been built up, if they're a star, if they're going to go on and become a world champion, unified champ, they were Olympic gold medalists, etc. If you've come from the small hall shows like Conor Walker, you don't fear the zero. Like tonight, he's lost. If he was an undefeated fighter that had been built up through the system and lost tonight, he'd be devastated, but he'll think his world has ended. You know, what he will do is dust himself down, have a little rest with the family and a break, go back to the gym and go again. So everything depends on the background and the situation of the fight. It's never good to lose. You know, I don't want to start telling people it's okay to get beat. It's not. It's horrendous and it should really hurt. But you mustn't fear it. And if you're in a great fight, sometimes your stock rises in defeat. And especially for those guys. Tyler Denny's a great example of it. What's he, 15-2? I mean, that sounds like a record that no one's going to get excited about. But look at him, he's coming on like a train.
And for Lewis Crocker, like you mentioned, the fight is signed with Paddy Donovan if we want to do that next. Just how big is that fight for Ireland?
It's a big fight for Irish boxing. It's a brilliant clash of styles as well. You know, you've got a real pure boxer in Paddy Donovan, and you've got a real, you know, and Crocker's underrated as a boxer as well. I mean, he's a huge puncher, but he's underrated as a boxer, and it's just a brilliant fight.
There were disappointments for Muhammad Ali and Shannon Ryan. I think you went in the dressing room and spoke to Muhammad Ali after the fight. Obviously disappointing nights for them, but great learning experiences, particularly for Muhammad Ali.
You know, I didn't know that his grandmother, who's very close to, you know, passed away, I think this week or last week. And, you know, I think that those fights, again, you know, we talk about the defeat. I mean, that was a draw, right, which is never good when you're building as a prospect. But sometimes those kind of fights can change your career forever. For the better, never for the worse. Because what he learned in there tonight, you know, that's worth 10 fights against some muppet that's overmatched, right? So you got to go through those stages. And he showed some toughness in there. He showed some inexperience. I thought he looked very tired at times, and he shouldn't have been. But then you hear about what's been going on behind the scenes and stuff like that. You know, I think that it's a situation that he'll bounce back from, and I would like to see him in a rematch.
You mentioned the benefit of those tough fights. Cameron Vuong had one as well tonight. Instead of going through the previous opposition that he's had, he had a tough, durable guy in Jeff Ofori, and he would have learned a hell of a lot tonight as well, wouldn't he? Yeah,
I mean, look, you've got to remember, Cameron Vuong, that was his 5th fight. So to do 10 hard rounds against Jeff Ofori, who's always a handful. I mean, I gave him more than one round, that's for sure. He didn't win the fight by any means, but you know, those kind of fights, again, are priceless for the experience. And Cameron can go on now and just carry on in 10-round fights. English titles, British titles. You know, and that's a massive learning box ticked for Cameron Vuong tonight. I thought that the Dolan-Shannon Ryan fight was a really, really good fight. I thought that Shannon was unlucky with the knockdown. If you watch it back, it was probably 4 shots on the back of the head. It was a very close fight, could have gone either way. I think with the knockdown, maybe you lean slightly towards Emma Dolan, but she was brilliant. Both were fantastic. It was a really good fight. Congratulations to Emma Dolan and Shannon Ryan. She'll be back as well.
Hamza Udin as well, fighting up several weights above where he ideally would like to go, and he still had the flair, the enthusiasm, the excitement to go, and that's just his second pro fight.
Yeah, I mean, Hamza Udin's a star. He had to go, I think, 3 divisions up tonight, really, to fight that guy. And nearly got him out of there. He's electric to watch. And when you see him back at flyweight, you're going to see him knock a lot of people out. And for me, I want to move him quickly, straight into English and British titles. I think he's a fantastic talent.
Some big news that we announced also tonight. Regis Prograis coming back over here to face Jack Catterall this time. A massive fight for Jack.
It's, for me, the best fight at 140 outside of the championship fights. I think Jack Catterall's become a real star. A fantastic performance against Josh Taylor in one of the best atmospheres we've seen in a British arena for a long time. And he wanted to be active. He spoke to me about fighting for the world title. Liam Paro just won. Teofimo's got a defence coming up. Devin Haney's sort of in limbo. So I said to him, look, if you want to get active, we want to open up the Co-op Arena with a big boxing event August 24th. It's on your backyard. And he said, I'll fight anybody. Just make the biggest fight you can make. And we tried with Barboza and they dropped the ball. And it was literally 24 hours ago, a conversation with Regis Prograis, who said, I'll fight Jack Catterall in England. I need a big win. I had a great fight with Josh Taylor there. Let's do it. And we got the fight signed, and it's a mega fight for the division. And the card's going to be epic. The arena's fantastic. And we've got another massive night for British boxing, August 24th. Very important. And
finally, next week, we obviously got the big press conference on Wednesday for Anthony Joshua, and on to Phoenix for Estrada versus Bam. Just a massive week again. Yeah, I mean, the Phoenix card's fantastic. Bam against Estrada is going to be a huge crowd in there. You've got Sonny Edwards with a very important fight. Ramla Ali fighting for the world title. Can't wait to get out there, then back for Johnny Fisher. 6,000 nearly gone already for Fisher against Babic, and then back to Philadelphia for a great card. So non-stop, and maybe a little press conference this week as well. Eddie Hearn, thank you very much for your time.